Hello, hello. This is our show with Swag to the Moon with your hosts, Max Schmidt and Cole Lipinski. Today we'll be talking about Thursday's National Football game between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. We'll also give our opinions on who the fantasy NFL MVP should be, as well as other topics. And Cole, take it away.
Hello, and thank you. I am Cole Lipinski, and I would like to start off the show by giving a shout-out to DJ K-Quill, who has made the opening and outro beats for us. Thank you a lot. I think they really tie the show together and bring a good mojo, good funk to the show. All right, so first up on our topics is the Thursday night's game between the not Jacksonville, it was last week, Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And I didn't get a chance to watch it because I was working, and I don't believe Max had a chance either.
I watched some highlights on NFL.com, a good 5-minute video with some solid commentary over it.
And it just, from what I saw, it wasn't that great of a game. I think the highlight of the game came with Miami. They returned a kickoff for a touchdown, and I think that was about it.
As well. Yeah, Buffalo returned a kickoff in the first half, and then Miami returned a punt later in the game. There was a lot of special teams action. The 4 field goals were made, and that was really the deciding factor for Buffalo. Their kicker was unstoppable, as you can see by the score box.
And another thing with the game on Thursday night was the Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Tannehill had a combined total of 309 yards passing, which most
Aaron Rodgers gets in one game on an average day.
Yeah, so as 309 yards, I mean, there's many quarterbacks who throw that a game. Rodgers, Breeze, Brady. So just a bad, not bad, but just not a great game to watch unless you were a fan of those teams.
C.J. Spiller had a nice game, though, with, I believe, 22 carries for 91 yards, which was exactly what they needed with Fred Jackson out with a concussion. He really helped him in the offense with struggling Fitzpatrick, and I don't know, Stevie Johnson is the only other relevant player that Buffalo has.
The other player that, has kind of come out this year, and he kind of did a little bit last year, and then in the beginning of the year it kind of faded away, I believe, but at the beginning of the year, Donald Jones has kind of emerged as the clear-cut second option in Buffalo. Scott Chandler, he started off the year really hot. I remember September is his month to play, and flipping over to Miami, obviously there's no one really in Miami other than Reggie Bush, and saying that's not a lot because Reggie Bush, he's a mediocre back. He's a second tier back and then you look at their wide receivers, Devon Best, Brian Hartline, and Anthony Fasano. There's not a whole lot there for receivers.
Yeah, their offense lacks some pretty good weapons. I think I'd have to disagree with you about Reggie Bush, though. I wouldn't say he is like a number one back possibility upside. Like he still has some in the tank. He's still a good runner. I like him.
And also, before we get too far into the show, I would like to introduce Dr. Kyle Walsh, our esteemed fact checker. Here he is.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to disagree with your comment on Reggie Bush. In all honesty, I've had him in my fantasy league for most of this season, and at points-wise, he's been incredibly inconsistent.
No, I'd have to say that's due to the coaching strategy and not on Reggie Bush as a player. Although he was hurt against the Jets. I remember he suffered some sort of ankle injury, I believe. So he is kind of injury prone from time to time. He's not the most durable player, but boy, can he run fast.
And with that ankle injury, I believe it's been lingering. I mean, you look at him before that in the Jets game and after that Jets game, he's a completely different player. And kind of going along with Miami here, Ryan Tannehill, the rookie quarterback, he was drafted fairly high by the Dolphins. Top 10 pick. And he 7th. All right, we'll go 7th. And he just has been like a Christian Ponder. He'll have games where he will just be lights out, and everyone will think, "Oh, he's so good," and then the next game he'll throw 168. Fact checker Dr. Kyle, he was the 8th overall pick in last year's draft. So, and I think he'll have a good career in the NFL. Probably kind of do like a Vince Young, and where he just kind of faded away. He got cut, I believe. No, he got hurt, and then they cut him, and then he just went team. He played for Philadelphia, and he's the one who started the whole, we're the dream team, we're going to be so good, and then he got cut by them at the end of the year.
In the offseason this year, Buffalo picked him up, kept him for the preseason, and then I think they cut him week 1 or before the beginning of the season. He was gone.
And after they cut him, they took in Tavares Jackson. They traded with Seattle to get him, and that is just – and T-Jack isn't a good – T-Jack isn't that great. So, and the last thing with that Miami game is fantasy-wise, if you played Ryan Lindell and the Buffalo Bills defense, you're an idiot. But last night it paid off for you sticking with. If you played Ryan Lindell or the Bills defense, you're a Bills fan, and that's the reason.
Just with the special teams returning the punts and the kickoffs, that would have just saved you right there and would have saved it from being a complete disaster of a night. Now, last week, we promised you that we would give you our Super Bowl predictions for who would win it all this February. I personally think that the Green Bay Packers will beat the New England Patriots in this year's Super Bowl. Cole, what do you think?
I'm gonna have to go. The Houston Texans are gonna beat to get to the Super Bowl, and when they get there, I would say they're gonna beat the Patriots because those are I think the two best teams.
Yeah, Tom Brady sure is a golden boy in the playoffs. Kyle, who do you think will win?
And Max, just to crush your dreams a little bit, I'm going to have to say that it'll be the Packers losing to the Denver Broncos this year in the Super Bowl because of, think how far that they got last year with Tim Tebow. Just think about how far that they could get with Peyton Manning. Just bringing up ghosts of Super Bowls past with Super Bowl 32 in 1998 and them losing to the Broncos.
That's not very nice, Kyle.
Well, you know what, Max? I'm going to have to say the Packers losing the 1 Super Bowl is better than the Vikings losing the 4 Super Bowl, every Super Bowl they've been in. That's just kind of sad for Vikings fans. And my pick was actually for the AFC Championship game. I believe the Texans will beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and I think Arian Foster will just run all over them, and they'll run over, and then that'll set up the perfect play action to Andre Johnson deep from Matt Schaub.
Where's the Super Bowl taking place this year, Kyle?
It's taking place in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Well, that was strange. Anyway, I'm excited for Beyonce to be the halftime performer. That's going to be a hot performance.
And I think she'll be better than the past few ones. Last year, who was it last year? Madonna, and then she had like LMFAO and CeeLo Green in it. And the year before that, it was like the Black Eyed Peas, and that was terrible. That was just not good at all. But I think Beyonce this year will bring it back up and make it better.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
What is going on here? This is weird. This is not a normal swag to the moon type thing. But next up we have our NFL, who we think this year should be the NFL MVP, fantasy football MVP of the year for the NFL. And I'm gonna have to come out and I'm gonna have to say would be the Chicago Bears defense, because they're probably drafted really low in most places. And obviously the top two are going to be Breeze and Rodgers, but I mean, on draft position, you have the Bears defense that were probably, like every defense should be, not taken until one of the last few rounds. And if you get like last year, I would say Gronkowski was probably the MVP because probably not a lot of people drafted him. I remember in our league, Kyle here, he drafted him in about the 15th out of our 16 rounds, and he went off, and no one expected that. Now that's why I would have to say the Chicago Bears defense would be the fantasy football MVP of the year.
And I'm going to have to pick someone who was considered a top 3 overall pick, Arian Foster, who has 10 touchdowns on the year. It's just been unstoppable. The only game where he's had kind of a stinker was against Green Bay, where he only had 30 rushing yards, but still managed to get in the end zone twice. He just can't be stopped. Just once he makes that first cut, he's gone. And I guess I got to give props to the Texans' offensive line. They've just been mashing people, making pancakes for years, ever since Steve Slayton back in the day was running for him.
And my choice for fantasy football MVP of this year is going to, just because of the level of surprise that came out of it, is Doug Martin. The most specific example was 2 weeks ago when he played, because in keeping in mind that all fantasy leagues are scored differently, he scored 56 points, which pretty much secured my downfall to our host Cole here. And 56 points, that's astounding. That's better than 90% of our quarterbacks in our leagues get. So I just have to give it to him. And if he can stay as consistent, or even half as consistently good as he's been, or as he did during that game, he'll easily be a hands-down pick for that. Since 1995, when they've been starting and doing the fantasy football online, there's only been 3 other people that have gotten more points during a single week, and that's Corey Dillon, Sean Alexander, and Clinton Portis.
I just got to hope that Doug Martin doesn't suffer the same fate as those guys, where he just doesn't exist after 3 years.
Yeah, me too, because I'm going to have to say he might be a keeper for me this year in the league. Max... No, I drafted him. I drafted him first, though. No, I don't think she drafted him. And the fantasy performer of the week would be Matt Ryan. He had 3. He's passed for 3 touchdowns, 411 yards, but still wasn't good enough to beat the Saints. But I mean, I would have to say Joe Flacco as well, because he threw for 3 touchdowns and he also ran one in. So that was just a solid performance by those two. And I would say the rushing touchdown and the blowout win against Oakland, 55-20, also helps that out a lot. And the funny thing talking about the Saints here is Kyle has Drew Brees and Marcus Colston. Those are his top 2 players on his team. And the funny thing with them is it is a very strong connection between the Saints and Kyle's fantasy team.
Yeah, at this point, my win-loss record in fantasy is 5-5. Taking into account their bye week, I would have the same win-loss record as the Saints if that wasn't the case.
And Kyle, just one more thing. I will get you a Doug Martin jersey next time I find one, because he is obviously your favorite fantasy player. Just a few reminders here. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're all on there. We are on Facebook with Swag to the Moon, Twitter with Swag to the Moon, and then you can find us on YouTube, where this video is mainly posted.
And remember, everyone, that the Utah Poison Control Center would like to remind you not to take poison.